Hi, everyone. We are so excited to have you here today. My name's Mary Chris LePay Highland, and we have an epic coaching recovery session here today. Now, I know it's pretty common to think about our industry as the fitness industry in general, but I think a more inclusive descriptor could be health and wellness because we recognize there's a lot of elements that go into giving individuals the best chance for longevity in regards to the health and recovery continues to be those main topics that continue to grow in relevance. So I know from personal experience as a coach that I've even seen the shift in the last 10 years with relaying that importance to clients and also seeing what has become available to us with the booming businesses focused on recovery. So I'm sure we can attest to seeing more education available for coaches to not only learn about the recovery focused movement, but also the apparel and footwear that assist in recovery, the fitness wearables, and other tools that help with sleep, fuel, and mental wellness that bring it all together. So, with that said, I'm excited for our panelists because they are key players in in their respective spaces. So, we're going to learn all about the latest tips and trends from people who are working in this industry day in and day out. So with that said, I'd like to introduce our panelists. And of course, I'm going to give them a moment to break down who they are so they can serve more justice to exactly what they do. First up, we have Rachel Reed. She's the head of scientific research and communication for Therabody. We have Mark Coronel on behalf of UFOS today. He's the co-founder of Duo Core Solutions, a 2024 IDEA Personal Trainer of the Year. I'm not done. Coach 360, top 24 most impactful coach this year. And of course, we have Ellie Gottlieb, who is the lead applied sleep scientist at Sleep Score Labs. So there's a lot going on. We are in good hands. Rachel, I will let you kick it off.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary Chris. And just to echo everything you've said, I'm so pumped to be here and sharing some information about how Therabody thinks about recovery and this booming wellness recovery space overall. My background is in exercise science, and I've spent the last 10 years or so in the fitness and wellness industry working for a variety of brands and companies in the fitness space and particularly in the franchising space before joining Therabody's team about 6 months ago. So I'm really excited to be here and share some of that with you all today.
Amazing. Thank you. Mark?
Hi, hey, so yeah, I'm Mark Cornell. I think I'm the only one that's probably on a different continent right now. So I'm working with UFOS right now. We've been creating a active recovery certification just because there's a need for it. There's a feel for it, and I know that there's some really big brands on this panel as well. But I think there's an opportunity to learn from all, and I'm excited to definitely learn from the rest of the people here. Um, I'm 25 years old in the fitness industry, so I think I'm like dinosaur status almost. There's someone somewhere is going to be insulted when I say that, but I'm sorry. It's how I feel. And then I've worked for lots of different brands, but the cool thing is, we can play musical chairs all we want. It's a very small industry. It's a beautiful small industry, and I'm happy and very honored to be on this panel today with everybody.
Thank you. And Ellie?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Ellie Gottlieb. I lead applied sleep science at SleepScore. My background is in neuroscience, so PhD in neuroscience with a focus in sleep and chronobiology. I've worked across industries from J&J to now SleepScore in the startup space and clinical space as well. In SleepScore, we're a B2B consumer sleep tech company, really offering evidence-based sleep APIs and R&D services to characterize and improve population sleep health. So excited to give sleep and circadian rhythms there, I think rightly deserved spot in the limelight today.
Amazing. So excited to just dive into all of that. And I know we've all been in the game for a while now. So speaking, I mean, Rachel, maybe you want to kick it off. You've talked about being in the industry the last 10 years specifically, doing your type of work. So what have you seen in terms of like the evolution in recovery in the last 5 years? And is there something that stands out to you as being like a significant change?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like in the past 5 years, there's been this big shift in consumer mindset toward prevention. I think a lot of consumers with access to more data, more information at their fingertips, they're wanting to take aspects of their health into their own hands when possible and figure out how and where alternative therapies and different approaches might complement the traditional medicine field to improve health span and longevity. And so I feel like we're seeing that trickle down, of course, at the consumer level. And that requires coaches to really stay on the ball because this space is exploding so fast. And I know we'll have lots of coaches and trainers tuning in to kind of hear our perspective as far as what are things to look out for and keep an eye on in this ever changing space.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying about prevention. I think that's so true that we're not looking to get to that point where we're working backwards from there. And just going off of your point of talking about prevention and then hearing Mark talk about the for coaches on the end of having that recovery certification, do you feel like that's where it's come from and why are they finding that to be so important? Kind of going off of what Rachel just shared.
Gotcha. I think that's it's the missing piece. It's the missing piece, and I'm so happy that we have the blend of people that we have here right now because I think it's we're going to get a lot of nodding to each other's tunes, but we're starting to look at the bigger picture now. It's not just foam rolling. It's not just sleep. It's not just active recovery movements. It's understanding what these pieces of the puzzle all do for you. You can't do one and hope for the results of all. I worked with Trigger Point since 2010, and I used to call myself a gremlin because I go around and like dunk myself in water. I duplicate. If you're millennial, you're gonna have to watch Gremlins. Um, but it's one of those things that it's very cool to hear someone like Rachel say, like, oh, it's like really coming up because that's what I've been waiting on. If you look at the ACSM trends in the past 15 years, prevention or recovery more so has not made it on there. We've gone tech, we've gone HIT, we've gone small group training, we've gone, there's tech is always kind of like pushing back and forth. And honestly, in the last 4 years, we've got lockdowns, we've got people that are sitting at home, young people sitting at home, old people are sitting at home. And what are they going to do? Recovery is so much more. And I think for the coach of 2024, 2025, you have to be able to look at all the aspects within the recovery platform because it's the most ignored part. And I'm sorry, we're still being ignored. Strength and Pilates is trending. Don't know why. Kudos to strength and Pilates, but the fact that nobody is paying attention to like, hey, are you getting 7 and 8 hours of sleep? Are you using different tools, to aid you in your recovery? And there's, a multitude of tools. And are you also aligning yourself with brands that not just give you the tools, but are science-based and more importantly, they're explaining to you why. Why are you using these tools? Why should I listen to my circadian rhythm? Why does it help for me to put on a pair of boots, sit back, and do nothing for the next 45 minutes after a long week? If I can't justify the why as a coach, I'm pretty worthless. Then I'm just kind of like counting numbers. And that's the difference, in my opinion, between a trainer and a coach. The trainer is just kind of regurgitating what they're getting. A coach has the ability to actually teach and share the knowledge that they're understanding, right? Because knowledge isn't power. Using that knowledge, that's power. So for a coach right now, 2024, 25, yeah, I'm looking, that's my push personally, and I'm happy that, the other panelists are kind of going like, yep, I'm here to push that ball that direction.
Yeah, and I love everything that you're saying, especially just about the terms, right, that we're using to describe everyone's role, going from the trainer to the coach. I think about even in my personal experience with clients, it's like, why do you need me? You know how to do all these different like movements, etc. But it's the coaching throughout the life moments to help them feel good throughout that I think is so important. And having the access to the different tools and knowing how to utilize it because I think we do have a lot to access, but they're constantly trying to sort through the noise of what's actually going to be beneficial to them. Right. And I love that each of you, it's like you're going to get it the whole time. I'm going to go from Rachel to Mark to Ellie because I see how all these pieces work together, and if we're going, back to like what we can think of foundation and basics, like if we're thinking about sleep, you always hear a lot about it and its importance. So I'm excited for Ellie to jump in and just piggyback off of what everyone has said and how you see that evolution and where Sleep Score Labs plays a role in this.
Yeah. Look, I think we've anecdotally known for a very long time, and even scientifically have known for a very long time the importance of sleep. But I think it's important to quantify that importance like very clearly. Like we have been able to see in the scientific literature the effect of sleep extension on not just recovery but performance. Right. Like one study found that increasing sleep by just an hour improved 3 point percentage by nearly 10%. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's the difference between me and Steph Curry, right? And we've known for a very long time that the most consistent growth hormone secretion pulse occurs during slow wave sleep, during deep sleep, shortly after sleep begins in the first half of the night. So now it's about really identifying, I think, behavioral tools and non-pharmacological tools, interventions that can not only support overall sleep health and healthy sleep habits, but even potentially increase time spent in deep sleep and hormone secretion, right? Growth hormone secretion. And I think really with the rise of validated consumer sleep technologies and trackers like Sleep Score, there's been a shift towards personalized measurement of sleep and circadian health because everyone's different. And beyond just the measurement, it's about actionable, personalized insights. And the truth is, especially when it comes to sleep, there's no silver bullet. There's not one single factor that's going to drastically change your sleep health. Unfortunately, for many people who are struggling with it, it's sort of the sum of its parts. And I think that's common across most sort of behavioral and health outcomes. There's not one silver bullet, and that's why things are complicated. So it's about leveraging evidence-based solutions that are personalized and tailored. There's no one size fits all, and there's no silver bullet.
And when you're talking about the personalized, looking at the data, right, of what you're going to use to help yourself, we talked about the fitness wearables. I think everybody's excited about them, right, of what it can do to help, but they're also like, what is the most important thing that I'm looking at here to help me, improve just my overall wellness? Like how, I don't know if each of you want to chime in on that, but what would you, Mark, go for it. I'm not even going to finish. I'll
Well,
let you jump in right
no,
away.
no, 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 because this is
Yeah.
something, and this is something that like I used to for the people. Well, let me see. No, nobody in here knows me like that, but I used to live by that. Like I'll sleep when I'm dead, and then be able to like burn it on two ends and go hard, and in the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, yeah, I know I should sleep. I And at one point, when I joined the Under Armour training team in 2016, Under Armour worked with Sleep Score, and I got introduced to Sleep Score. So I was an ambassador for 4 years. The amount of knowledge I changed my sleeping habits, I think, in the first 2 days. They basically put these charts up, and it was almost like watching that eighth grade, like the drunken driver video where you just gore. And you're like, oh, that's your brain. This is your brain on no sleep. And I was like, oh, I got to go to bed. And that changed, honestly, everything to the point, even to where to what you're saying is the wearables. I like the fact that I could use my phone and not have to deal with a wearable. I don't know I forgot what it's called, Ellie. I still have it. I still use it. But I like the fact that there was a sonar in my room versus something on me, and I don't, I probably have a 10. No, yeah, I'm tired of it. I'm honestly tired of it because in my head, now I'm sitting there going, like, so what does science say about the wearable and the duration of my skin and all this other stuff? And now my brain starts going. I'm not trying to, kill it for anybody else, but yeah, I think there's got to be a gold standard, and I know that sleep score came from MedRes, so they're 10 year. What however old, I don't know how old sleep score, but however old they are, they're like 10 or 15 years older because they're like the original sleep score sleep um, company, and so I got most of my data from there. I got most of my knowledge from there. And I'm very proud of that because I've been able to help a lot more people. Now, the wearables and the data that they interpret, then you have to start looking at the degree of error, right? And what type of person are you? What kind of data do you want to interpret? Do you want to be really like tight on it? You're going to be sitting there with looking like Bane when you go to bed, but you're going to have all this cool data. And do you then now know how to interpret it? I think the companies that you align yourself with will help you interpret the data because they'll have their own algorithms, but more importantly, their style of education. Because yeah, everybody has rings and wearables, and it's at your head, it's your wrist, it's your fingers, it's there's something in your room. But what do you do with that data? And what Eli was saying earlier or sorry, is all that data kind of amalgamates, but it still has to be customized to each individual because they're all different points. My stress levels, my work level, my workout level, my lack of workout level. Am I happy? Am I unhappy? What's my serotonin doing? What's my dopamine doing? Scroll. What's that doing to me? What's my screen doing to me? So all those things, I think they're helpful, but I think they're also kind of turning on the light for everybody to see, hey, there's a lot of things wrong right now that we have to acknowledge, not just for us. I'm mostly speaking to younger athletes these days, but to the youth as well.
Yeah. And so sharing that, that impact on everything, I'm curious to, you know, what your thoughts are on, we talk about, Ellie, you mentioned the improved athletic performance, right? Of knowing all of this information. And I feel like I've seen, Therabody aligned with high level athletes as well, right? We see the impact and it almost seems like an easier sell when it's someone's profession and they're completely invested in their health. So to Mark's point, like how do you make that digestible to the younger athletes and the average consumer to, I guess, motivate them to want to learn to interpret all that data and have them feel empowered to continue to work on that type of recovery? And
Yeah, so from Therabody's point of view, we certainly do work closely with a lot of high performers, of course, but our big campaign from a brand perspective is actually the workout called Life, because most of our consumers aren't necessarily high performers. They're what I call everyday athletes. They're people like me who have two little kids who are struggling to get enough sleep to show up at work and perform well and do and exercise and take care of myself, right? A lot of our consumers are falling in that bucket where they're wearing a ton of different hats, and that's where my role on our science team really works closely with our education team as well as our marketing team as almost like an in-house service provider to make sure all of those teams understand the science and the research that's coming out behind our products so that they can speak to the consumer in a way that matters to them. I am a huge nerd. I am a scientist first and foremost, but I also think that science really only matters when the message gets translated to the end user. And in Therabody's case, it's the consumer, right? Who, again, most of them are everyday athletes and people. And so they've got data even within our mobile app about how frequently they're using our different programs and products, right? And we want to make sure that we're really clearly telling them how it's beneficial and why it's working and when it might make the most sense to use this. And just to piggyback off of one of your earlier points, Mark, that individualization, that personalization, that's where I feel like the coach really comes into play. Like they, consumers and clients, I'm also a personal trainer. I still teach group exercise too. I like to stay close to that because it reminds me of the why. Like, why did I want to go into this space? It's because of that trust, that one-on-one trust you can get with the client that's in front of you and understanding like their specific needs and where tools like the Theragun or our Jet Boots can come into play to maybe help them or maybe they don't need those products right now and they need something else instead, right? So that individualization I think is really where the coach comes into play.
Yeah, I mean that's I love what you said, Rachel. I think when it comes to personalization, individualization, Sleep Score's perspective is that yes, it absolutely first and foremost starts with objective data, but before even that, it starts with goals, right? What are someone's motivations and goals? Because depending on their goals, that's going to dictate the entire, at least in sleep and circadian health, their sleep improvement process and their likelihood of retaining information and staying with a program, right? Like at the end of the day, you can have the most incredible evidence-based, proven in a randomized control trial to improve sleep. Sleep Scores program has been, just to shout that out, proud of that. But if they're not engaging with the program, if they open it up once a week or once a year, it's not going to help them. So things need to be, your behavioral approach needs to be engaging to keep people interested and motivated. And that starts with, obviously goal setting as well. So yeah, I totally agree with Rachel that the personalization is key, and then the onus really is on the coach as well. Like that's a lot of pressure on them, and I think we should arm our coaches with the right tools so that way they don't have to be this expert generalist that knows everything about everything. They could know enough to personalize and then recommend behavioral tools or certain apps to support their clients.
Gotcha. And I really just love it all kind of trickling down to the coach, right? The person in the everyday that gets to speak to the individual. But it also gets me curious in terms of, getting the message out. I feel like using influencers is a big thing. Um, but sometimes there's a mix up of who's an influencer and who's a certified professional. So I'm curious, yes, Mark, and where do you feel you can kind of combine the joy of both, right? I feel like there's someone like an everyday person when they use a certain tool, people are more likely to ask like what's going on. They don't feel like they're being sold, right? So do you feel like there's benefit of, I guess, connecting with more everyday individuals or vetting these certain fitness professionals to be able to translate that message, versus it looking like, here's a fancy wearable, here's a cool, massage gun. Like, how do we break through the noise to really educate people, but in a way that allows us to just break through the barrier to get them interested to learn more? Because I almost feel like giving the information has to be digestible to build interest. So, Mark, you look like you're ready to go.
Oh, there's so many layers to this right now. So influencers,
Yeah.
in my opinion, are pointless. Sorry if you're an influencer, but you're not pointless if you have the desire to learn and you're open about it and you share that you're learning and you're not afraid to say that you're a novice. You're not coming in with 100,000 followers. I don't have 100,000 followers, but what bothers me a lot is that there's the I'll go a step higher. The companies are marketing their products using influencers because they're looking at an easy sell as far as like, oh, this person has a 500,000 or 1 million followers. So, hey, all we need to do is grab 5, 10%, 2.3%. They got their margins built in. But the influencer doesn't know anything. The majority of companies doesn't educate their influencers. I've worked with a lot of different companies where I end up volunteering because I see that they have influencers. And then, yeah, I'm sorry. There's a massive difference between a coach, a trainer, or an influencer. An influencer is going for the lowest hanging fruit. The coach and the trainer are there because they're passionate about something. Somebody came into this industry to say, I want to make a difference. And maybe they're borrowing something from the influencer, saying like, hey, if my abs got you here, maybe my brain will keep you here. I've mentored a lot of different coaches, and especially the some of the. I'm a dad. I have a daughter. It's hard. I look at women as you have it a whole heck of a lot harder than the guys out there because you're bombarded left and right with marketing. Marketing is incredibly powerful. Marketing is the reason I bought Air Max in 1987 because it would have helped me for whatever reason. And then you learn about the foot and you go, oh crap, they're totally wrong. But their marketing is so strong. So the marketing messages out there are confusing the consumer. Yes, going after consumers. Like I love the fact that we're talking about what Rachel said. Hey, we're trying to go after the everyday athlete, because the everyday athlete doesn't know that when you see Ronaldo walking around with a foam roller, that's for sure. That guy can get a massage every day, all day long. And that's what a lot of regular people and average folks don't know. But it's cool because, hey, he's getting a couple of dollars to walk around with that roller. But when we come to my grandmother, your aunt, your uncle, how are we helping them? And how is this message, put forth? If we use influencers, let's start educating the influencers. It's not a dig. I want to teach them. If you're watching, I'll teach you. I'll hook up with you. I'll write for you. I'll ghostwrite for you. But don't spread false information because then I come for you too. And I'm that guy. I appear in your comments because if you're full of it, you're actually making my job a whole heck of a lot harder. I don't mind being the tip of the spear in saying that you're making it harder for the fitness professionals and the wellness and health and wellness professionals that are really dedicating their time and their resources, because education isn't free. So you go and level up. Who tells you after that what to do? Should you charge maybe $2, $3 more because you just became, you know, qualified and or certified in something that will help your client? Yeah, sure. That's why I said there's so many levels. That's why I'm like, there's a lot to talk about. But I would love to flip every influencer to a coach, and I would love every coach to learn from an influencer, because guess what? Pandemic hit. I'm looking at the influencers like they're doing something. We're missing something. It's abs. We need more abs and long hair. The second part I'm working on, but I'm okay. So I'll zip it from now. Yeah, this is it's for me. I could talk to you off about this, because you kind of just hit a snare when you kind of put us in the same sentence. We're not the same, but I have no problem being the bridge between the two.
Yeah. Ellie, Rachel, do you feel like there's a home for both to work in unison as well as educate? Do you feel maybe is that the void that's in the industry, like specifically regarding recovery, just that communication?
Yeah, I do think that's what the void is. I think the void is the education and understanding like where all of these different tools and modalities and technologies and data printouts, et cetera, fit for you. I feel like that's the void. And back to your point, Mark, I think influencers serve a purpose for a brand, right? It's reach typically. And at Therabody, we try so hard to make sure that our influencers are educated before they start any kind of campaign, and we do that by making sure any studies or relevant data, whether it's going into the literature and pulling out key findings or studies that we've conducted directly on our products, that we take key points like digestible, science backed, clear talking points to provide to them. And then one of our team members actually does like a quick briefing with them to make sure they not only know how to use the product, so they look like they're demoing how to use it correctly, but also so that they've got some talking points that are legit, so that when followers are engaging with their content, they're at least in the ballpark of being accurate. I do a lot of volunteer work with the American College of Sports Medicine. I actually chair the committee on professional education. So I am right up there with you, Mark, as far as highly valuing certified personal trainers and group exercise instructors and the coach so highly. And I think one of the things that coaches need better access to is high quality education about the products that are out there right now. And so hopefully we can start, giving them some opportunities to learn from these companies that are making these big products as well. I know that's something that ACSM cares a lot about. And as far as like legitimizing the profession of being a coach, I think again, Mark, there's like so many layers. We could talk about this for hours, I have no doubt. But when we look at the career path of trainers and coaches, so many of them do this as a side gig rather than their full-blown career, because it's really tough to keep up with how fast things are moving and also to be compensated fairly. So I agree. If you've got another continuing education credit or a new specialist cert, like you should be charging more if you're a coach. Yes, up your prices. People will pay for quality information and quality pros. So I think that education is the void right now. Like there's no shortage of products available and the knowledge is there. Of course, we always need more science. I'm biased in saying that, but the knowledge is there. We need the education and the translation of that science.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least in terms of the sleep space, we've been lucky to have someone like Matthew Walker, who's a really credible scientist and expert when it comes to science communication, be at the forefront of the sleep and circadian space. There's others that have been sort of like pseudo-scientific, trying to take on the role as like the sleep expert, and so I would say that those that are talking about science and those that are talking about sleep and circadian science, at least in terms of recovery, should have a background in sleep and circadian science. Like I think it's very important nowadays that people stay in their lane as much as possible if they're talking about Yeah, yeah. Agreed, Mark, right? Like you have people whose PhDs were in something totally different that are now trying to enter a space where they just don't have that experience, right? Like, and talking about it as if they know everything and anything. So, and it's tough for the consumer because these people, people who talk about these things are so confident. And how do you have to, like, as a consumer, I wouldn't know to go to someone's like Google Scholar and see if they've actually published on some of this work, right? Like it's very difficult to discern reputable information from like just jargon that has no solid scientific basis. So it's tough. It's tough to be a consumer nowadays when you're getting really great information from some incredible science communicators, but then something that sounds great but actually isn't founded in any scientific basis.
And I like what you're just saying about it is tough for the consumer, right? That's the reality of it. So if each of you could talk about if you were talking to the everyday person who's just inquiring about the latest thing they've heard, what would you tell a coach actually to tell a client to kind of break through the noise? Like what would be the first step to Mark figuring that out?
This is not my quote. It's a strength and conditioning coach, Jeff Dillman's quote. It's do simple better. Don't worry about what's coming out next. Don't worry what's new and hot in 2025 and 2026. Do simple better. If you can do the little things better, are you drinking enough water? Are you turning the light off when you turn it on? Do you put the seat down when you're done? Do you wash your hands when you're done? Do you stretch? Do you take the time to eat your fruits and vegetables and get your fibers and all that stuff in? Are you actually looking at what you're wearing? Are you looking at your feet? Are you wearing what's hip or are you wearing what's actually healthy? And I think when you're able to bring them back there, that's what I would tell them. Tell the, what's the other one? KISS. If you've never heard of it, Google it because there's a word in there. But keep it simple, silly. Yeah, just keep it simple. I think because of all the data that's available, it's very hard to discern like where do I go with this. And I think Kathleen and the Coach 360 crew, this is like easy money. If you're watching this, like every company on here, it's easy money from UFOs, the Therabody, the Sleep Score. It's easy money because every single one of these companies will provide you with snackable content, and that's that content where you can look at something for 30 seconds and go, oh, I learned something cool. You walk away and you go tell your friend. It's not like, oh, there's this and that company, but there are a lot of other companies that'll say, hey, look, we give you every piece of data under the rainbow. And good luck with that. And then and it's it's $1,500 and we dipped it in gold. Does it work any better? Not necessarily. The simple tools are most often the ones that are the ones that will get you to where you need to be. After that, it's extra. Right now, the average person with a little extra coin in their money, in their bank, will have a tub outside with ice. We'll have infrared in their house. We'll have some type of vibrational tool. We'll have some sort of wearable. Keep track of all the money that I'm talking about, right? And then, but what are they missing? You don't have to have a lot of to go to bed on time and get 7-8 hours. You can drink your half your body weight in fluid ounces, so you have good cognitive and physical function, and you can make sure that you will try to get as many steps and movement in every day. Do simple better. Start there and then start spending money.
Simple, snackable, spend money. Well,
Don't say
uh,
it to my wife like that because it's spend money.
we'll leave the last part out. Um, Rachel, Ellie, any way you want to break that down as well, or did Mark break it down?
That's great. I just want to highlight one thing from the sleep perspective because it's so true. Like
Yes.
everyone says, how do I get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night? And I'm like, let's see how long you spent in bed. Did you actually afford yourself a long enough sleep opportunity window? And it sounds like it's a no-brainer, right? Like if I want 8 hours of sleep, I need to be in bed for at least 8 hours, right? But most people don't do that. Prioritize the little things and the easy things. I totally agree with you, Mark. Like get that out of the way. And in terms of personalization, obviously, there's some things that work for some people that don't work for others, right? Like, people who have a sleep disorder need to get, first of all, screened. Most sleep disorders go undiagnosed. 90% of obstructive sleep apnea goes undiagnosed. So make sure the medical stuff is out of the way. Once that's out of the way, then if you want to optimize your sleep, look at, the basics that are personalized to you, like sleep hygiene, and then supplement that with not supplements, but with certain evidence-based products, right, that are non-invasive, and that have been shown in scientific literature to improve sleep. So, get the hard stuff out of the way, the medical stuff out of the way, and then focus on the basics. Give yourself a long enough sleep opportunity window. Be consistent with your bedtimes and wake times. Focus on sleep hygiene, and then products that are going to make you feel good too, right? Like that's a big part of this. It's like, no one wants to use a product that doesn't make them feel good. Like, how you feel before bedtime is going to significantly impact how you sleep throughout the night. It's pre-sleep affect. So things that can make you feel good before bedtime, within certain realms, right, but can support you as well.
Yeah. And I just love what you're saying about sleep opportunity. It's like trying to go to the gym. Like you can't go unless you like get up. The hardest part is getting up and going. So the thought of just, are you giving yourself the opportunity is a very easy question that they can assess and be very real with themselves. And Rachel, go ahead. I know you're getting ready to share your insights.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with all of the influencers out there and maybe some of the big podcasters, Ellie, that you were alluding to, there's all of these like optimization protocols out there. And the fact is that most clients that we're all working with as coaches and trainers are not getting the basics done. I think adding in all of these optimization tools and products and practices should come after we've prioritized and figured out sleep. The nutrition is pretty dialed in. You understand your hydration needs, et cetera, et cetera. It's like if you visualize it as a pyramid, then you start to get these like incremental benefits from adding things on top. But if you don't have a strong foundation, adding those things in are not the silver bullet that some misinformed big voices might lead you to believe.
Yeah, you could take the next incredible product when it comes to sleep improvement, but if you stop breathing for 40 minutes every hour because you have obstructive sleep apnea, it's not going to help you. So, the basics are key.
I'm going to piggyback on Ellie. He said don't supplement, and I got this from I listened to a lot of people. It's stuck on my Dr. Chris Moore, dietitian, and I liked how I heard him tell a group of people this one time. Don't supplement, just complement. So if you already what Ellie was saying, what Rachel was saying, if you're already kind of checking off the boxes on the basics, then you can complement. So now you can actually say like, hey, I am getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And now that you're doing that consistently, look at the quality of sleep. Now, how's the quality of sleep? And when you're up, are you foggy? How do you wake up? Do you wake up, do you sleep on your side? Do you look like a car accident victim when you sleep? Are you looking at the little things? And then you can start complementing what you're doing with the plethora of products out there. But you got to start thinking about, okay, these are the things that I can control every day. I can make it darker in my room. I can put my phone away. I don't have to look at blue light. All those things add up for the long term. And I'm 46. Like I said before, like I lived under the moniker, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And you can ask my friends, like, oh yeah, all nighters all day, and and be fresh. I almost prided myself on that, to the point where I looked at it like, yeah, but cognitively, I'm not functioning at 100%. It doesn't matter what you think. Like there's a good bajillion science that tells you, you do that every weekend, you do that every week, you do that every day, 4 or 5 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours of sleep. You can't do it. You won't maintain. Somewhere you got to pay the piper. And this is all the free knowledge. If you ignore all of this stuff, you'll just be paying a lot of money by the time you're older than me, because then you'll have a whole heck of a lot of the bigger problem.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. I feel like we just wrapped up on these like really good nuggets, and just going throughout the conversation, realizing that recovery, like Marky said, it hasn't been on the forefront, but it is on the forefront. It needs to be up there, make its way. It's so prominent, and just recognizing that, this is something we can continue to improve and educate people on. Education is the biggest thing. It's not meant to be flashy, but it's going to make you feel, really good at the end of the day. So I just want to thank you all for being just major players in the game and helping to push that forward. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions from others who want to know more. So if each of you can just share the best way we can contact you, whether that's Instagram or website, LinkedIn, let's take a moment to do so. Ellie, we can start with you.
Sure. Yeah. So if you're interested in any sort of APIs, evidence-based APIs, or R&D services, like we worked with Rachel and Therabody on, our website sleepscore.com. Feel free to reach us out, reach out to us on there. And then personally, my LinkedIn, Ellie Gottlieb, or my Instagram is dr.ellie.gottlieb. So feel free to reach out to me, and just really grateful for Kathleen, Al, the whole team for inviting us on, and it was just so much fun. And Mary Chris, thank you for expertly getting us through all that. I thought it was really great. Props to you.
Thank you. You guys gave me all the content, so thank you so much. I learned a lot today. Thank you. Rachel?
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more about science at Therabody, or reading some of the studies that we've done, there are probably more than you think there are. We've done so many studies. You can go to therabody.com/science. And then personally, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Rachel Akatelli Reed there. Or on Instagram, it's at the exercise doc.
All right. Last but not least, so ufos.com, that's how you find out more about the most comfortable shoe on earth. I am honored to say that we at DuoCore Solutions, that's duocoresolutions.com, we partnered with UFOs to create the Active Recovery Academy. And what I love about this panel is that we just give you the methodology to use the tools that they both have. So you can pick what you want. You want to use the sleep score stuff, you want to use the Therabody tools, then you can actually add that into more of a routine. And you can reach me on a personal level at Energia Phoenix, ENERGIA, and then Phoenix like the city, or Mark Coronel on LinkedIn. But yeah, go check out ufos.com. You'll have a good time. And I think, I don't know if we're giving anything away here, but if you hit me up and you ask nicely, you might end up with a pair of flip-flops. They're going to kill me.
Expect a
But I'm in
message from
Amsterdam,
me.
so I'm okay. Yeah. I'm in Amsterdam. You can't get me here.
All right. Well, thank you all again so much, and Coach 360 for hosting this awesome Ignite series. I know there's just so much amazing, like up-to-date information being shared, and can't wait to do it again.